The first time they tried to arrest me for jumping rope, I was exactly 37 seconds into my morning routine. What they didn't know, and what would later become the most viral clip in HOA history, is that a jump rope in trained Navy SEAL hands isn't just exercise equipment. It's a weapon, and Helen Bramley's private security team was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Listen, there's something about suburban warfare that most people completely miss. It's not the big battles that define these conflicts. It's the tiny, petty, power plays that escalate until somebody ends up face down in the manicured grass they were so desperately trying to protect. I've seen more blood spilled on driveways than I did in 3 tours overseas. And trust me, that's not an exaggeration. I moved to Maplewood Lane after 12 years in the Navy, the last 5 with SEAL Team 6. 3 tours, 2 silver stars, and enough PTSD to fill a swimming pool. All I wanted was quiet. A place where the only explosions were the ones going off in my head at 3 a.m. Instead, I got Helen Bramley. Picture her. 60 years old, always dressed like she's heading to a board meeting with God himself. Navy blue power suit, white gloves so pristine they squeaked when she pointed at you, which she did often. Her silver hair sprayed into something that could survive a nuclear blast, and eyes that saw property code violations the way I used to see insurgents in crowds. She was every suburban dictator you've ever imagined, rolled into one terrifying package. I'd been jumping rope in my driveway for exactly 3 days before her first appearance. 6 a.m. sharp, same time every day. It was my meditation, my therapy, my way of drowning out the voices that wouldn't shut up. The thwick, thwick, thwick of the rope hitting the pavement was better than any therapist I'd tried, until the clipboard brigade arrived. "Mr. Reeves," she said that first morning, appearing like a bad dream, "I notice you're engaged in athletic activities in a residential zone." I kept jumping. Thwick, thwick, thwick. "Mr. Reeves, I'm speaking to you." I stopped. "Mistake 1. Never show them you're listening." "Yes, ma'am?" "This is a quiet residential area. Outdoor exercise equipment requires approval from the aesthetic committee. The rhythmic noise you're creating exceeds the 45 decibel limit established for morning hours." I blinked. "I'm jumping rope. Unapproved athletic equipment. Section 14, subsection 7 of the HOA regulations." She tapped her clipboard like it was holy scripture. "I'll need you to submit Form 73B for outdoor recreational equipment assessment." Or that smile. Jesus, that smile. Like a shark who'd found blood in the water. Or you'll receive your first formal warning. 3 warnings result in fines. 5 fines result in a lien on your property. I nodded, started jumping again. Mistake 2. Never underestimate a woman with a clipboard and too much time on her hands. 2 days later, I found the first official warning taped to my door. Thick cardstock with gold edging. They'd spent more on the damn warning than I'd spent on my rope. Formal. Violation. Notice number 1. Resident, Alexander Reeves. Date, April 14th. Violation. Unauthorized outdoor athletic activities. Action required. Immediate cessation of activities. Day 3, same bullshit. But here's what Helen didn't know, what nobody knew, about guys like me. We don't respond well to threats. We've been conditioned for 12 years to react to aggression with overwhelming force. And while I'd worked damn hard to leave that, part of me in Afghanistan, some instincts run deeper than therapy can reach. I kept jumping. Day 4 brought Helen's second in command, Martha Hendricks. Picture every mean girl from high school who grew up, but never grew out of loving the power trip. Mid-40s, surgically enhanced everything, carrying herself like she owned the street, because her husband owned the biggest law firm in town. "Alex?" she purred, using my first name like we were friends. "Helen's concerned about your disregard for community standards." Tell Helen I'm concerned about her obsession with how other people spend their mornings. Her smile faltered. Good. Let them know early that nice guy Alex died somewhere in the Hindu Kush. The board voted yesterday. If you continue these activities without proper authorization, we'll be forced to take more serious action. What kind of action? She leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something expensive that smelled like the kind of flower that blooms right before it dies. Let's just say Brock and Tyler, our security consultants, are very effective at convincing residents to comply with community standards. That's when I started recording everything. See, most civilians don't understand the value of intelligence. Gathering. In special operations, you live or die by the information you collect. So I installed cameras. Doorbell cam, driveway cam, even a tiny one clipped to my shirt during my workouts. If they wanted to document my violations, I'd document their harassment. Day 5, I kept jumping. The rope had become my defiance, each rotation a middle finger to their perfect little world order. The legal warning arrived that afternoon. Certified mail, signature required. They'd upgraded from cardstock to actual parchment. Apparently, my jumping rope was now a public nuisance creating unsafe conditions and disturbing the peace. I framed it. Hung it right next to the one from my dad telling me I'd amount to nothing. Motivation comes in many forms. Day 6, Helen escalated again. She filed a formal complaint with local law enforcement, citing my military background as a potential threat to neighborhood safety. She'd done her homework, found out about my service record, and was using it against me. In her mind, a veteran was synonymous with unstable, a loose cannon whose morning exercise routine posed an existential threat to their carefully cultivated paradise. It was bullshit, of course. I'd been medically cleared for civilian life. No violent incidents, no restraining orders, not even a parking ticket. But Helen understood something about fear that most people miss. You don't need facts when you have implications. 7 p.m. that night, 2 guys approached my door. Thick necks, tactical pants, Bluetooth earpieces. Brock and Tyler, I presumed. Private security trying to cosplay as operators. Mr. Reeves? Ma'am Bramley sent us to discuss your compliance issues. I stayed behind my screen door. I don't discuss anything after sunset unless it's life or death. Ma'am says you're becoming a nuisance to the community. Ma'am says a lot of things. None of them are my concern. Tyler, the bigger one, stepped closer. His hand rested on what I recognized as a taser. Cute. We can make this easy or hard, brother. The word brother from his mouth tasted like stolen valor. I'm not your brother, and I suggest you step back before you find out why. They did. Good instincts for civilians. Day 7. I woke up to find my neighborhood had been wallpapered with flyers overnight. Concerned citizens. Alert unauthorized military veteran conducting potentially dangerous activities. Exhibiting signs of post-traumatic issues. For safety concerns. Contact. Helen Bramley. They'd weaponized my service record against me. In a neighborhood where the closest anyone had come to combat was getting cut off in the Starbucks drive-thru, I was their monster under the bed. 2 neighbors I'd never met suddenly installed security cameras facing my driveway. Another stopped, letting his kids play in the front yard when I was outside. Fear is a virus, and Helen was a master at spreading it. Still, I jumped. 6 a.m. every damn day. Day 8. The police arrived. Officer Martinez seemed like a decent guy. Former Marine, recognized the sealed trident on my keychain. Look, man, I hate being here, but we got multiple complaints about disturbing the peace. Show me the noise ordinance I'm violating. He checked his notes. They cite excessive noise. Before 8 a.m. Jump rope hitting asphalt. 30 decibels max. That's quieter than a normal conversation. Yeah. He sighed. They're also saying you threatened their security team. I expressed my First Amendment opinion that they should reconsider their life choices. He almost smiled. Look, just maybe jump rope in your garage? Keep the peace? Peace is what I served 12 years to protect, including my right to exercise in my own driveway. He nodded. Left. Came back the next day with the same speech, and the day after that. Day 11 brought the first actual attempt at enforcement. I was mid-workout, that beautiful rhythm that kept my demons at bay, when 3 figures approached. 2 security guards I didn't recognize. Helen had upgraded her muscle, and Officer Martinez, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Sir, I'm going to need you to stop and produce ID," one of the guards said. No name badge, wraparound sunglasses, voice like he'd been sucking on gravel. I kept jumping. Thwick, thwick, thwick. "Sir, stop immediately!" "Officer Martinez," I called, out, not missing a beat. "Is this man deputized? Does he have any legal authority here?" "No, sir, but—" "Then he has no more right to demand ID than my mailman does." The guard moved closer. I could see his hand hovering near his belt. Taser, just like the others. Helen's goons all packed the same heat. "This is private property, friend. You need to leave," he sneered. "HOA has enforcement authority on my private property. Show me the easement agreement. Show me where I signed away that right." The second guard, smaller but wiry, tried to flank me. Classic maneuver, terrible execution. I shifted my jump rope rhythm without looking, expanding my circle to keep them both in view. "Stop resisting," the first guard shouted, though I hadn't moved toward them at all. Then came the critical moment, the one that would change everything. The first guard reached for me, just grabbed my shoulder mid-jump, breaking my rhythm for the first time in 11 days. You know that moment in the movies when time slows down? It's not Hollywood bullshit. It really happens when your training kicks in. Threat identification, angle of attack, momentum calculation, all processed in the space of a heartbeat. The jump rope was still in motion as I pivoted. The handle caught his wrist with the precision only muscle memory can achieve. His taser hit the ground. The second guard went for his, but I was already spinning, the rope whipping through the air. It wrapped around his forearm and I yanked, sending him stumbling into the prize roses his precious HOA spent thousands maintaining each year. "Officer." Martinez froze, hand on his holster, clearly conflicted between his duty and the shit show unfolding before him. The whole thing lasted maybe 5 seconds. Both guards on the ground, unharmed but bewildered, and me continuing to jump rope like nothing had happened. "You assaulted security personnel," the first guard shouted, scrambling for his dropped taser. I defended myself from unauthorized physical contact. Officer Martinez witnessed it. "You grabbed me first." What none of us noticed was my neighbor Jerry recording everything from his second-floor window. Jerry was the neighborhood's self-appointed documentarian, always filming everything from landscaping disasters to the local cat's daily drama. But today, Jerry had captured something golden. By noon, the video was online. By sunset, it had been shared across every platform imaginable. By the following morning, Navy SEAL jump rope guy was trending nationally. The video, shot in his typical shaky style, captured everything. Helen's guards approaching, the attempted grab, my rope-foo defense, and most gloriously, the second guard, tangled in Eleanor Pritchard's award-winning rose bushes while I continued my workout. Someone had added slow-motion replays and the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly during the confrontation. Pure internet magic. Comments poured in. HOA Karen gets wrecked by Navy SEAL. When your property management fucked around and found out, this man is a national treasure. The audacity of civilians trying to arrest a SEAL. But the best comment, the one that changed everything, came from Ashley, the jurist. Former JAG lawyer here. HOAs cannot authorize private security to detain residents, This is illegal as hell. Alex.Reeves, if you need representation, I'll do it pro bono. Within 48 hours, I had a legal team. Within a week, Jerry had provided them all his security footage. Turned out he'd been filming Helen's harassment campaign for months. Within 2 weeks, we'd filed a federal lawsuit against Helen, the HOA board, and their security company for civil rights violations, harassment, and illegal detention attempts. That's when things got really interesting. You see, while the internet was busy making me a meme, my personal favorite being me photoshopped as Rambo with a jump rope instead of a machine gun, Ashley's legal team was digging into Helen's background. What they found was more twisted than any mission briefing I'd ever received. Helen Bramley hadn't always been a suburban dictator. She'd been a life insurance agent for Prudential for 25 years. Normal career, normal life, until she started spotting patterns in actuarial data that most people missed. She began identifying high-risk individuals, veterans with PTSD, recovering addicts, people with certain genetic markers, and finding ways to make their lives difficult, enough that they'd sell their homes. Her method was simple but effective. She'd run for HOA president in neighborhoods with vulnerable residents. Then she'd enforce ridiculous rules, levy constant fines, and make living in those communities so stressful that health issues would flare up. Stress kills, after all. Some residents would sell. Others would literally die off. Then Helen's nephews. Real estate company would make lowball offers on these properties, renovate them, and flip them for double. She'd been doing this for 8 years across 3 different suburban communities, targeting veterans specifically because they have pre-existing conditions insurance companies don't like. My jump rope hadn't been about noise. It had been about forcing out another veteran whose death would statistically occur within 5 years of service discharge. I was bad for her business model. The investigation uncovered contracts between Helen and local health insurance providers. She'd been selling them property records and health estimation data, essentially betting on when residents would die or sell due to stress-related illnesses. It was legal in the gray areas she operated, but ethically bankrupt. When this hit the news, the whole neighborhood exploded. Residents started coming forward with their own stories. The Hendersons, forced to sell after constant fines for untrimmed hedges. They were in the hospital caring for their dying daughter. Jim Morrison, cited weekly for grass height while recovering from prostate cancer. The Jeffersons, facing thousands in fines for unapproved doormat color. It was the doormat their daughter made in elementary school. Media descended on our quiet street like vultures on a fresh kill. CNN, Fox, local stations. Everyone wanted the Navy SEAL versus evil HOA Queen story. I did one interview with ABC. Kept it simple. I served 12 years defending American freedoms. That includes the freedom to jump rope in my own driveway at 6 in the morning. HOAs serve an important function in maintaining neighborhood standards, but when they become tools for harassment and financial exploitation, especially targeting veterans and vulnerable residents, they've lost their way. Helen, meanwhile, doubled down in her own interview. This is a community of standards. Mr. Reeves shows clear signs of PTSD and refuses to follow basic rules. He's making our neighborhood feel unsafe. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Stand with Alex trended for days. Veteran organizations rallied. The VFW chapter offered me their highest honor for standing up against domestic hostility. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd served overseas to protect home, only to find the real fight was in suburbia. Local businesses started taking sides. The coffee shop put up a sign, "Free coffee for Alex and all veterans fighting HOAs." The pizza place offered a jump rope special, with proceeds going to veteran mental health services. But Helen wasn't done. A week before our lawsuit was set for preliminary hearings, her guards escalated again. This time, 6 of them showed up, at my door at 11 p.m. Definitely past the Casual Conversation Hour. Mr. Reeves, HOA Emergency Order. You need to produce all security footage you've recorded of HOA personnel immediately. I opened my door but kept my hand out of sight. The Glock 19 had been my service sidearm. Old habits. You have a warrant? We don't need a warrant. HOA Bylaws section. The U.S. Constitution supersedes HOA bylaws, dipshit. The leader, a new guy, bigger than the previous rent-a-cops, stepped closer. You think being some hotshot Navy guy means you can threaten us? Never threatened anyone. Stating facts isn't threatening. Another guard snapped pictures of my house with his phone. Taking notes on your non-compliant window treatments. That's when I noticed their backup. They had a tow truck positioned down the street. 2 cops in a squad car behind it. Different officers this time, ones I didn't recognize. Planning to tow my truck? Violation of overnight parking ordinance for military vehicles. My F-150 wasn't military. It was civilian, registered, taxed, and parked in my own driveway. But facts didn't matter to these people. I pulled out my phone, dialed 911 on speaker. 911, what's your emergency? This is Alex Reeves at 412 Maplewood Lane. 6 unidentified men are attempting to illegally seize my property and making threats. I'm a veteran feeling threatened in my own home. The dispatch tone changed immediately. Stay on the line, sir. We're sending units. I described each guard in detail. Height, weight, identifying features, threatening behavior. By the time backup arrived, I had statements from 3 neighbors who'd been recording from their windows. Jerry wasn't alone in his surveillance hobby. The real police, not Helen's bought ones, separated everyone. Turned out 3 of the guards had outstanding warrants. One was carrying despite a felony record. The tow truck driver was operating without proper licensing. Helen herself arrived as they were arresting her muscle, riding shotgun in a Mercedes driven by her husband. First time I'd seen him, looking like a man who'd given up fighting years ago. "This is harassment," she shrieked. "He's making us all unsafe." The lead officer, a woman who introduced herself as Sergeant Patricia Wang, checked her notes. "Ma'am, your security team includes 2 individuals with assault convictions and a third who's violating his parole. One of your complying officers has been taking bribes to look the other way on your code violations while citing other residents. This here?" She gestured at the circus around us. "This is harassment and stupidity." The breaking point came when Sergeant Wang found the tow truck. "Your company authorized a $1,500 tow for a legally parked vehicle? And you plan to send Mr. E. Reeves the bill? I hadn't known about that part. A $2,500 tow fee for going from my driveway to the impound lot 3 blocks away. Ma'am," the sergeant continued, "I'm a veteran too. 10 years Army. And I'm done with this bullshit." That night ended with warrants issued for Helen's security company and an investigation launched into the 2 officers on her payroll. Local news picked up the story, and suddenly it wasn't just about jump rope anymore. The lawsuit expanded. More residents joined. The HOA's insurance company threatened to drop them. The management company that administered the HOA pulled their contract. Board members started resigning, but Helen held on like a tick, calling emergency meetings, passing new rules through proxy votes, and finding more creative ways to make life hell for me and anyone who supported me. That's when the feds got involved. Turns out, selling insurance data about military veterans to help insurance companies deny claims? Yeah, that's fraud. Federal fraud. The kind that makes federal prosecutors erect upon discovery. The FBI raid happened at 6 a.m., my jump rope time. I was mid-workout when the unmarked cars rolled up. For a moment, my PTSD kicked in hard. More authority figures, more threats, but Agent Sarah Chen had done her homework. "Mr. Reeves? I'm Agent Chen, FBI. We're not here for you. We need to talk about Helen Bramley and veteran insurance fraud." I kept jumping. Old habits? But I listened. We've been investigating her for 6 months. Your case broke it open. She's been running a schema targeting veterans in multiple states. We need your security footage, medical records, any documentation of harassment. With your permission." I stopped jumping. For the first time in 3 weeks, I felt something besides anger. Hope. The feds worked fast. They had recordings of Helen bribing insurance adjusters, emails detailing which veterans to target for health decline acceleration through stress, and even a spreadsheet projecting death rates by neighborhood. Her system was elaborate. Move into a neighborhood, identify vulnerable veterans, get elected to show create impossible-to-follow rules, harass them until they sell or die by through proxy companies' profit, from both real estate and insurance payouts. It was sophisticated, cold, and would have continued if I hadn't kept jumping rope in my fucking driveway. 3 months later, Helen Bramley faced federal charges including wire fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, harassment, and violation of veterans' civil rights. Her security company was shut down. The corrupt cops were under state investigation. Local courts invalidated every fine and rule she'd passed as HOA president. Residents affected by her schemes received settlements. The HOA system underwent citywide reform. They installed me as interim HOA president by unanimous vote. My first act, eliminating 80% of the bullshit rules and implementing a common-sense clause that basically said, if it doesn't directly harm others, leave your neighbors alone. My second act, converting the HOA security budget into a veteran support fund. The jump rope became a symbol throughout the neighborhood. Kids started jump roping in their driveways every morning. Someone painted a mural on the community center wall. A rope forming the words, "Freedom isn't free, but it should be legal." Helen's trial made national news. She got 8 years federal, 2 years for each count of fraud, plus additional time for targeting veterans. Her mugshot showed a very different woman from the power-suited dictator I'd first met. Orange jumpsuit, no makeup, the white gloves replaced with handcuffs. In her impact statement to the court, she finally admitted the truth. I saw veterans as high-risk investments with short life expectancies. The stress I created was just accelerating existing conditions. It was business, nothing personal. The judge, himself a veteran, wasn't moved. "Mrs. Bramley, you didn't just break laws. You exploited those who served our country. You weaponized HOA rules against the very people who defended our freedom. The personal is always political when it comes to discrimination. Today, I still jump rope every morning at 6 a.m. But now I have company. Veterans from across town, kids from the neighborhood, even Jerry filming everything for his Inspiring Neighborhood Stories YouTube channel. The jump rope sits in a special display case at the local VFW hall. They've added a plaque. To Alex Reeves, Navy SEAL, who proved that sometimes the home front battles are just as important as overseas ones. I get letters from veterans around the country telling me about their own HOA battles. Some funny, some heartbreaking. I forward them all to Ashley, who's building a national veteran advocacy group focused on HOA reform. Helen's empty mansion was purchased by a nonprofit called Homes for Heroes, converted into transitional housing for homeless veterans. The irony delights me daily. Last week, a new family moved in next door. Military, based on the car decals. The husband introduced himself as Captain Hernandez, Army Rangers. "Hey man," he said, "I heard about what happened here. Just wanted you to know I've got your 6. I handed him a jump rope. 6 a.m. tomorrow? He grinned. Roger that. The thing about fighting suburban tyranny, it's not about the jumping rope. It's about the principle that freedom isn't negotiable, even in the smallest battles. Especially in the smallest battles. You can take the warrior out of combat, but when tyranny shows up in your driveway wearing a navy blue pantsuit and carrying a clipboard, muscle memory takes over. The war follows you home, but so does your training. Every morning when I jump rope now, I think about all the other Helens out there, all the other HOAs drunk on petty power, all the other veterans just trying to find peace in their own backyards, and I smile, because they don't know what's coming. The thing is, once you open your eyes to suburban warfare, you can't close them again. Every email from management, every rule change, every fine, it all takes on sinister overtones. 3 months after Helen's sentencing, I get a call from a veteran in Florida. Similar story. HOA trying to ban his service dog for being too large. 2 weeks later, California. HOA won't let a paraplegic veteran install a porch lift without a $5,000 architectural review. Each time I connect them with resources, record everything, and when necessary, I show up. You'd be amazed how quickly HOA bullies back down when a quiet guy with a military bearing and a voice that doesn't raise but somehow commands attention walks into their board meeting carrying a folder marked Evidence of Bad Faith Administration, Illegal Enforcement, and Potential Federal Liability. The jump rope? It's not in those meetings. I save it for mornings, when the world is quiet and the demons try to creep back in. Thwick, thwick, thwick. The rhythm that saved my sanity and somehow ended up saving a community from a predator wearing pantyhose and legal threats like armor. Last night, Helen called my number from prison. The recording started automatically. Alex, it's Helen. I've had time to think, to really examine my actions. I understand now that I went too far. I'm reaching out because I need your help. The other inmates here, when they found out, I targeted veterans. Things aren't going well. I need you to speak at my parole hearing. You're the only one who can explain to the board that I'm not the monster they think I am. I listened to the whole message, considered my response carefully. Then I deleted it. Some monsters deserve to live with their choices. Every morning now, as I jump rope in the sunrise, I think about her sitting in a cell, probably counting down the minutes with the same obsessive precision she once used to count HOA violations. Time moves differently when you're not in control. Freedom tastes like morning air and sounds like a jump rope hitting pavement. Those who serve understand this truth in their bones. And those who try to take it away? They learn the hard way that veterans didn't just fight wars, they won them. My driveway, my jump rope, my rules. Game over, Helen. The jump rope revolution ended not with a bang but with a whimper. The whimper of a tyrant in orange jumpsuit realizing that some chains can't be broken with clipboards and white gloves. And me, I'm still jumping, still counting revolutions, still ready for whatever suburban battle comes next, because freedom, like fitness, requires daily maintenance. Thwick, thwick, thwick. The rhythm of victory sounds exactly like morning exercise. Ask any veteran. Peace is something you fight for every damn day, including the right to jump rope in your own driveway. Sometimes, late at night when the PTSD hits hardest, I lie awake and think about all the battles I never expected to fight. In Iraq, I knew the enemy. They wore different uniforms, spoke different languages, came at you with bullets and bombs. Clear rules of engagement, clear mission objectives. But suburban tyranny? That's trench warfare with a smile. It's bureaucratic. Bullets that take years to kill you. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, each one perfectly legal according to our bylaws. Helen Bramley taught me something valuable, though. In the end, a bully in a power suit is still just a bully. And bullies, whether they're warlords in Afghanistan or HOA presidents in suburbia, share the same fatal flaw. They confuse fear with respect. The day I got the call from the Pentagon inviting me to speak at a symposium on veteran reintegration challenges, I realized something. My jump rope war wasn't just about one HOA, one veteran, one morning routine. It was about thousands of veterans coming home to a different kind of battlefield. where the enemy wears white gloves instead of gloves that hide knives, where the weapons are clipboards and bylaws instead of IEDs, where the war never ends because the enemy lives next door. At the symposium, I shared data that would shock most civilians. Veterans are 3x more likely to face HOA harassment than other homeowners. Why? Because we're statistical outliers in suburbans. Demographics. We don't fit their actuarial models, their insurance algorithms, their perfect neighborhood mathematics. In Afghanistan, I told the room of policymakers, I knew who was shooting at me and why. Here at home they use fines instead of firearms, but the psychological warfare is identical. Isolation, stress induction, resource depletion until surrender. After my speech, 3 senators approached me. Real legislation followed 6 months. Later, the Veteran HOA Protection Act, requiring special provisions for service members in all HOA contracts nationwide. Helen Bramley's legacy wasn't just her prison sentence. It was inadvertently creating the framework for protecting those she tried to destroy. Today, my jump rope hangs in the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. Yes, really. Next to it, a plaque reads, Artifact of Suburban Resistance. The jump rope that sparked HOA reform, 2023. I still have the original, of course, still use it every morning. But knowing that a piece of nylon rope that cost me $15 now sits among the artifacts that tell America's story, that's worth every threatening letter, every attempted arrest, every sleepless night. The irony that Helen would appreciate, if she weren't busy appealing her conviction, her attempt to weaponize HOA power against veterans ultimately resulted in federal legislation protecting them. A classic military principle, overwhelming response to disproportionate aggression, tends to backfire spectacularly. Sometimes I get emails from Helen's prison address. Always the same thing. Asking for forgiveness, claiming she's found God, insisting she never meant to hurt anybody. I read them all. Never respond. Some lessons must be learned in silence. What she never understood, what too many HOA tyrants fail to grasp, is that veterans didn't just serve for the big freedoms. We served for all of them, including the freedom to exercise at dawn without someone treating it like a capital offense. The neighborhood cat, Mr. Whiskers, often joins my morning routine now. Sits perfectly still, yellow eyes watching the rope blur through the air. Even animals understand what Helen couldn't. Some rhythms are sacred, whether it's reveille at sunrise or a jump rope hitting pavement at precisely 6 a.m. Last week, I met with a group of HOA board members, not to fight them, but to train them. They'd reached out after seeing the documentary, asking how to prevent another Helen Bramley situation in their communities. The answer is simple, I told them. Remember that power is a privilege, not a weapon. The moment you forget that, the moment you start viewing your neighbors as subjects instead of equals, you've already lost. HOAs should build communities, not tear them down. They listened, took notes, asked real questions. For the first time since this whole saga began, I felt hope that maybe, just maybe, suburban governance could evolve. The jump rope clicked rhythmically as I demonstrated proper form for their wellness initiative. Some conflicts end with explosions. Some end with education. The best ones end with understanding. And so, as I write this final chapter, I'm watching the sunset from that famous bench. Yes, the one Helen tried to concrete over. The jump rope coiled beside me, ready for tomorrow's dawn patrol. Freedom sounds like a rope hitting pavement. Authority sounds like a gavel hitting a table. Justice sounds like federal indictments hitting a courtroom. But peace? Peace sounds like the absence of all that drama, with nothing but birdsong and morning air, until the next battle comes. Because veterans understand one fundamental truth: peace isn't passive. It's a daily choice, actively maintained, vigorously defended. even if all you have is a jump rope and the stubborn conviction that your driveway belongs to you. Thwick, thwick, thwick. The revolution continues, one morning at a time.